All right, and welcome to episode 2 of Culture and Decay here on, what are we calling it? The Swamp Media Network, Swampcast Network, Swamp Digital Network? We got to think of something.
That sounds good.
I don't know, they all sound good. That's the problem. We got to, I don't know, maybe we got to use the horrible thing that is democracy to figure this out. Anyway, welcome to episode 2. My guest here tonight is my fellow swamp creature, Rich Perez, or Schmichard Schmerez,
AKA.
maybe Richie Romy.
What's up, everybody?
All right, but yeah, after last week's show, I figured this would be a good one to kind of continue. Also, I didn't really give a good explanation of this show at the beginning of last episode, so looks like the first episode will be doomed to podcast hell, much like the first episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. If you've never listened to it, go look it up. But with that, this show, Culture and Decay, the goal is to talk about cultural things, to talk about what's going on in the culture around the U.S., talk about even some of the cool, underrated things that, hell, as far as I'm concerned, Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, Men in Black, all these crazy stories that we hear, they're practically a part of American culture at this point. They're part of the lore of this nation. You know, we'll talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's all on the table, as well as just crazy pop culture news and learning who in Hollywood was BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein. All right, cool. So without further ado, I'll let my friend Rich here just kind of introduce himself, even though I'm pretty sure most people probably know who you are if they listen to Swamp Creatures.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Rich Perez. I mean, I don't know what kind of credentials or what I should talk about myself here.
I mean, I could dive in. I could dive into the questions that I seek to ask everyone who comes on the show, if you want.
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
Okay, cool. 2 questions that I seek to ask every person who comes on here. First question: what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
So, I don't feel like I have necessarily a favorite. I do like listening to 9/11 stuff because I guess this will talk to a little bit of who I am. I lived in New Jersey at the time, right over the river. I mean, from my town, you stand on top of a hill and you can see the Twin Towers. So I do like listening to the 9/11 stuff, looking into that, because I mean, I don't think that, you know, the official stories just don't make sense to me. It doesn't add up. So I do like looking into those, you know, quote unquote conspiracy theories, seeing what everybody thinks about them. You know, is there a definitive one that I think, you know, this or that, you know, is the smoking gun? You know, I still haven't come across one that I believe to be the official story necessarily. But I do like looking into all the, you know, the free fall of the towers, how it was controlled demolition. You know, I keep an open mind with that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories around 9/11. Like, I've heard some very reasonable stuff, and then I've heard just the complete, like, where the fuck did that come from? Blue beam holograms or some shit. But
yeah, the planes were fake.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of, you know, last episode, me and Duke were talking about how the government, we think, puts out some of these conspiracy theories just to discredit people and stuff like that. I seriously wonder if that's the case.
Yeah. That kind of touches on one of my other favorite conspiracy theories, is that Alex Jones is controlled opposition.
Really? Alejandro Jones?
What's that?
I don't know. I always call him Alejandro Jones because after he got banned from Facebook. Yeah. But
so somebody came across and said that. I forgot where the hell I heard that, but somebody said that he's just, you know, controlled opposition, you know, because anything that he says to the mainstream, you know, oh, Alex Jones said that. Like, really, that's your source? So to you know, to the people that the blue pill, the corporate media types, anything Alex Jones says is bullshit. So if you get him saying whatever the official story is, you know, you've automatically discredited yourself, or you've discredited that story in the eyes of the blue pilled, which the masses are blue pilled. So let's just say that, for example, you know, it was a controlled demolition. Let's just say that truly is what happened on 9/11. You get Alex Jones to say it was a controlled demolition. whether Alex Jones is actively participating or not, suddenly the blue pilled are not going to believe that it was a controlled demolition for the simple fact that Alex Jones said it was a controlled demolition. So I heard that and I was like, holy shit, like what if that's true?
I've heard that one before too. I've gone back and forth on it. I finally decided that I don't think he's an agent, but I do think that's the case with Q.
Correct. I'm with you on that. I don't think he's an agent, at least not knowingly. I don't think he's knowingly doing it.
I mean, he could just be an asset.
That's possible. That's possible. I don't know. I'm not cynical enough to believe. I think Alex Jones is genuine enough in what he believes, and I think he's trying to, I think he's trying to bring the system down to some degree, or expose shit to some degree. But on the flip side, I think it's totally possible that, if they want to cover something up, if Men in Black was coming out to be true, they'd leak some true facts to Alex Jones just to get him to say some true facts, and people would be like, oh no, Alex Jones said that this and this is fact, so must not be true.
I mean, there are friends, like there's one friend of mine in general who comes to mind when you say that, who still reads the New York Times for whatever reason.
Right.
Who I could see him doing exactly that, what you just described. Like,
right.
And there is something to that.
Yeah. I mean, to us and most of the circles that we, are in, we hear Alex Jones and we're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should look into that. Yeah. Maybe I should do a little more research. Maybe I should hear, what else he had to say about it. Maybe I should look into what other people have had to say about that. But to the average blue-pilled normie who, like you said, listens, or watches or reads New York Times and, the Huffington fucking Post, they're going to hear Alex Jones and they're going to be like, that's bullshit. Okay, next. Yeah. What human-animal hybrids? That's bullshit. Next, and then human-animal hybrids come out to be true.
Well, a lot of the stuff that it's funny because, like, back when I was younger, Alex was wrong about certain things. For instance, At one point, I remember he was warning the U.S. was going to go to war with Iran within 3 weeks, and then that just never happened. Here, I'm going to turn down the music here since we're going to get this going. But you heard the whole, we're going to go to war with Iran within 3 weeks, and it's like a lot of that stuff I thought would be true because it felt like it was more grounded in reality, but it never happened. And then all the crazy shit, like the gay frogs and all that was the shit that all turned out to be true.
Well, here's what I tell everybody about Alex Jones. You have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, we all saw Jurassic Park. We all know that there's breeds of frogs that can change from male to female and vice versa, thanks to watching Jurassic Park, and that's a cool thing, in popular culture, that if you're paying attention, you could learn a few things or two. And I don't remember exactly what the gay frog story was. I know it had something to do with that. The chemicals in the water.
Yeah, it had to do with, if I'm remembering properly, this is just me putting it into layman's and skipping out on all the specific details. But from what I understand, there was a corporation polluting water, and the chemicals that were being polluted with were causing male frogs, to act like females during sex.
Right. So I remember something along those lines. I remember it being something along the lines of it being the breed of frogs that does change sex, and some of them did change sex, but they kept fucking the same sex because they were fucking like the old sex, basically. So it was male, but the males would fuck each other. Like it was something weird like that, and it's like, okay, did it turn the frogs gay? Not really, but kind of. Little grain of salt there, and you could see why he said it's turning the fucking frogs gay.
I think that was the thing though with Alex is he blows things out of proportion to such a degree that if you actually look into it, you're like, oh shit, no, there actually is something to that. Like,
exactly. It's always, holy shit, there's something to that.
I will say though, he is responsible for what I think is my favorite conspiracy theory, and that's Bohemian Grove. Because he blew that shit wide open, bro. Like, you got to give him props with that. Like,
oh, absolutely.
But that leads me to the second question that I always like to ask everyone, and that is, what conspiracy theory would you not be surprised to learn is true?
So I subscribe to, like, I come up with my own little theory about conspiracy theories. I've gotten to the point in my life where, I'm not saying I believe any one of them is 100% true or this or that. But if they came out and like, here's a smoking gun, here's proof that the Men in Black exist, here's proof that Bigfoot exists, here's proof that throw just about any conspiracy theory out there, about 99% of them, I would not be surprised that they were true. There's very few things that would surprise me if it were true.
Shape-shifting reptiles.
Fuck, I mean, crazy shit we've seen over the last year, I'd say even that one might be true.
Okay, thank you.
Here's what I'll tell you that I don't believe, and you can't convince me, even if you flew me out into space and showed me, is flat Earth.
Yeah.
That's probably the one that I would be genuinely mind blown if I was like, holy shit, it's true. Like, nah, stop. That's not true.
I mean, it is the most retarded of all the conspiracy theories. Let's be real here.
Yes, yes.
There's practically compilations online of flat earthers owning themselves.
Yeah. I love the thing that, there's flat earthers all over the globe, and you're like,
say that again, but slowly.
Yeah. So slow that down. Say it one more time. Still didn't catch it. Okay, one more time. Just one more time. Let's see if you get it.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy about that is, from what I understand, the idea that the Earth has been flat isn't necessarily something that's been popularized at all within history. Like, we always hear the stories of, like, back in the day when Columbus came over, everyone thought the Earth was flat. It's like, no one thought that. Like,
no.
that was not how the Earth was perceived.
So I thought back then they did think that it was flat.
I've heard mixed things about it, basically, and from what I understand, the idea, like, you're going to go over the edge, like, that wasn't necessarily something that was, believed. The reason Columbus was going there was because it was to find a passage to India,
right?
And shit, there was the one guy, his name fucking, like, I'm supposed to be the history guy out of all of us, and I can't even fucking remember, but there was the one guy who sailed around the world. He didn't make it, but his crew did, because he eventually died in, like, a bar fight somewhere in the Philippines, I think, or something.
Magellan?
That might have been, actually.
I think that was Magellan.
They thought the Earth was a lot smaller than it was, and they learned the hard way that maybe that voyage wasn't very easy.
Yeah.
That might have been it. But I don't know. From what I can tell, just looking at all this stuff, it seems like it was very up for dispute. Like, it wasn't just everyone said, "Oh yeah, Earth's flat." I mean, keep in mind when Galileo was arguing with the Roman Church, he was arguing the Roman Catholic Church. He was arguing that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, but the sun was.
Right.
So yeah, that's just some crazy stuff going on. But I'm going to move on to some of the stuff that we have here tonight to talk about, because we briefly touched on some of the stuff in our Halloween episode of Swamp Creatures, so that's why I'm bringing it back here again.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh man, so let's kick it off with some of the fun stuff. With one of what I think is one of America's most interesting pieces of folklore, and I'm agnostic on the existence because I am with all this shit. Bigfoot, which seems to have a different name depending on what region you go to in the U.S.
Yeah.
Down here, he's skunk ape.
Yeah, we got skunk ape down here. And you got Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti,
Grassman.
Which one's Grassman? Where's that from?
The Ohio Grassman.
Oh, I never heard of that one.
Yeah, kids don't go out after dark. The Grassman will get you. It was like one of the. I think with that one, it started off as just its own legend, and somewhere down the line, it seems to have merged with the Bigfoot stories.
Gotcha.
Just my own opinion from looking at that. But it really is interesting though, because I don't know if it's real, but it's definitely become a part of, like, the folklore of the wilderness.
Right. I that one's tough for me because I feel like we've explored enough of the world that we would have had some sort of definitive proof, some sort of DNA, so some sort of DNA evidence of a primate creature, primate-like creature, that we couldn't necessarily pinpoint at this point in time, and or some sort of fossils, bones, some sort of evidence somewhere along the lines. But maybe it's just the kid in me. I know there's giant swaths of this country that, people don't frequent, people don't walk through on a normal basis, that nobody sees, but one person every so often that's going on a hike or whatever the case may be. My I have a cousin, he's my father's cousin. He used to tell me stories when he lived in the Pacific Northwest, where he lived, you can only get to by seaplane. And he owned a seaplane and he used to have to fly in and out. And it was basically in a valley and there was a lake. He had a little lake house. But he said that he would fly, for an hour or two in any given direction. And, he would see absolutely nothing, not a house, nothing but sticks, for an hour in that direction or whatever. And it makes you think because, it takes you about an hour, hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on where you are in the state, to drive from one end, from one coast of the state to the other. So it makes you think if there's that much, just area where there's not even a single house, there could be something out there. And again, maybe it's just a kid in me, that wants to believe it, but it's hard to believe that there's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was kind of my point before, in the previous episode, was that there's so much unexplored land that it makes me wonder about that sort of stuff. But at the same time, the reasonable person in me wonders about what you're saying with, why hasn't there been a corpse that's been found? Like, why hasn't we found bones or anything? Now, the part of me that wants to kind of play devil's advocate on both sides keeps on going back and forth thinking about both. Like, even with a Squatch corpse, I guess we'll call it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's like depending on every environment, but at least in the Everglades, like the wildlife out there will eat that shit up fast.
Right. There's that also. We don't know, let's just say they do exist. We don't know how smart they are. We don't know how quick one of them would, let's just say that they do exist again. If they do exist, obviously they're very secretive. They're smart enough to realize that they need to stay away from other animals, to a certain extent, at least. We don't know if when one of them dies, maybe they know to dispose of the bones somehow or dispose of the remains somehow. Who knows? Maybe they know to do that,
Well, there's that one. There's a lot of stories online, and a lot of them you can attribute to creepypastas or export on 4chan or like one of those. But like that, what you just said reminded me of one of them, which had to do with the Mount St. Helen eruption out in Washington some years ago, where apparently there was some story about like a colony of Bigfoot or something like that, and it was so fantastical that the skeptic in me was just like, this sounds awesome, but I feel like this is probably someone who wrote this up on the export or something. But, what you're saying, though, like it would coincide with that sort of thing.
Right.
It really is a crazy thing because it's not even just that. Like, Josh, who I eventually want to have on here, too, he's adamant that the Jersey Devil exists.
That's as much as
that's even crazier.
As a fellow New Jerseyan, as much as I'd love for that to be a true one, that's a tough one.
I mean, like the whole thing is like this woman gave birth to the devil's son or some shit, and he flew off. It's just such a crazy one that I'm like, unless there's some supernatural glitch in the Matrix shit going on there, like
that one's a little too supernatural for me. Nah. Even though again, growing up in Jersey, there's this website. It's called Weird New Jersey, and it's all about just from just slightly strange stuff like I don't know, weird road signs. Like there's a road in New Jersey called Shades of Death Road. So that comes out in Weird New Jersey. But it's from stuff like that to haunted stuff to cryptids and all types of stuff like that. And we went and visited some of those places, and we've seen some pretty like strange, bizarre stuff that I could talk about if you want me to.
Please. That's. I'd love to hear more about that shit.
So yeah,
We're here for.
I mean, we saw some like legit strange shit that I personally can't necessarily explain. And I'll give you like just a couple cool ones. There's also so there was a couple of like highlights places we went to. There's this one place called Clinton Road. Supposedly is some haunted road. There's a bridge there that if you like throw a quarter over, supposedly like some ghost kid will come and give you your quarter back. And so of course, drunk 17, 18, 19-year-old Jersey assholes, we went over there and we threw a handful of change over the bridge, and we're like, where you at, you little asshole? Bring me my fucking money back. Talking shit to the supposed ghost boy, and he never showed up. But we turn around and go back, and once or twice, this is one lane going, one lane coming, nowhere to pull over, with very few exceptions. And a couple times that we were driving through there, out of nowhere, just headlights would appear behind us, and we'd be like, oh shit, like let's get the fuck out of here, because that'll freak you out a little bit when headlights just turn on. I mean, it's pitch black out there. So, if somebody's coming behind you, they're going to be coming with their headlights on. But with nowhere to hide, headlights just turned on behind us. That happened once or twice. And, we would boogie the fuck out of there when that happened.
I mean, when I hear shit like that, it's more like, well, fuck, that sounds more or less like a ghost, more like aliens or some shit.
Well, to me, it was, backwoods Jersey good old boys, if you ask me. If there was anything going on.
I got you.
There was this place called Demon's Alley, where supposedly there was like 6 houses, and it's real bizarre. You go to this place, it's just so there's a highway here, there's an exit off of the highway, and then about probably a mile and a half in, there's a little dirt road that connects from that exit that'll bring you back onto the highway. And there's like 5 or 6 houses, all abandoned houses. They all got shuttered. Like they all put up boards across the windows and across the doors. And in every single window, they painted like a drawstring halfway down, and then a little string and a little loop, like to pull it by. They painted that on every single window that they shuttered. And nobody knows why those houses were abandoned. And we went there once or twice. And then one time, dude, when I tell you it was the smell of death, we were just walking around, and there was some garbage bags that were off in the corner, like just off the road. And we walked up to the garbage cans, and it smelled like absolute death. And we were like, yo, let's get the fuck out of here, because we don't know what that is. So, that was bizarre and a little hair raising, and God only knows what it was. Again, backwoods Jersey somewhere, God only knows. And, good thing we didn't run into anybody or anything out there.
Yeah, that's why you carry a gun.
Yeah, unfortunately in Jersey,
can't.
Yeah,
no.
That.
Yeah.
That's true. Jersey sucks.
Didn't even think about that. I'm so used to our freedom here in Florida that I just did not pass it. Oh,
dude, it's fucked up. Growing up in Jersey, if you had a gun, you were either the cop or the bad guy. And then I moved down here, and I was like,
isn't Jersey the same state where if someone breaks into your house, you have to flee?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jersey doesn't even have a standard ground law, even in your own house.
God damn, that's fucked.
Yeah. No, it's all fucked up.
I no offense, I can see why New York mocks you guys, and they're no better.
I can see why everybody mocks us. So now I'm getting to the juicy shit. There was this one road called Annie's Road. And supposedly when you drive down Annie's Road, when you turn off the lights, you see the ghost of Annie sitting in your back, in the back of your car, if you turn off the lights and look in your rearview mirror. And that was one of those things where, you think it's just some stupid urban legend or whatever, and never had anything really crazy happen on Annie's Road. Except for one day, there was this house that we had never noticed. And whenever we, wanted to scare some girls, or, we're going out for the night or whatever, and we just wanted to just drive around and, do stupid shit as kids. It's like, hey, let's drive by Annie's Road.
Yeah.
And there was this one house that we never noticed was off of Annie's Road. And we get there this one day, and all the windows, there was two or three windows upstairs, 2 or 3 windows downstairs. all the windows were kind of glowing and then dimming and then glowing and then dimming, as if a TV was on inside the house, but every single TV in every single room was on the same channel. Very fucking bizarre. So these lights are glowing and dimming all in unison. And then all of a sudden it just completely just went dark. This whole house went dark all at the same time. And then we noticed like this weird fog that kind of just started rolling down the hill towards our car. As the lights went dim, this fog fucking appears and starts rolling down, and somebody just yelled, and I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about this. Somebody yelled like a little girl. I don't remember who was in the car with me. All I remember was a yell and the driver just stepping on it and peeling the fuck out of there, but that scared the shit out of us.
I mean, I would fucking get the fuck out of there too. What kind of Stephen King novel shit is going on?
Dude, really fucking weird. And then the weird thing, as we pulled off, a car pulled around the corner behind us and pulled into that house. And then, you know, as high, you know, or drunk or whatever we were, 18, 19-year-olds, somebody was like, there was a ghost in the house, and then the owner was going home, so the ghost left, blah, blah, blah. So they start coming up with all their own conspiracy theories, and that was pretty cool.
I mean, how can you not? Because, like, sometimes when you experience shit like that, it's hard not to jump to some of the, you know, the weird stuff that we've heard of in the past.
Right. Your mind wants to figure out what's going on. And, you know, I don't have one opinion about it, you know, versus another. It's kind of crazy to think back like that. You know, I saw this with my eyes, and we all kind of saw it, and we were probably all thinking the same thing until the one person screamed, which was probably, you know, best for everybody. But we were all probably thinking the same fucking thing, you know, like, what the fuck is going on? And then as we drove off, we talked about it, and somebody was like, you know, somebody just broke the silence and was like, yo, you guys saw that, right? And we were like, yeah. And then somebody was like, yeah, the windows were glowing. And we're like, yeah, the windows were glowing. All at the same time. And the next person was like, yeah, all at the same time, all of them, you know, in unison. And then somebody else was like, yeah, in the fog. And like, we kind of all pieced it together, and we all knew we had seen the same thing.
Watch, there was probably like some crazy party going on with like lights and shit, and then fucking they had a fog machine or whatever.
Dude, it could have been.
And then like the reason the lights went out is because the beat dropped or some shit. Like,
dude, it could have been.
I don't know. I'm trying to, you know, the skeptic in me is just trying to think of shit, but like, oh man, yeah, no, I can see how that would be like really fucking freaky though, especially if it's happening out in the middle of nowhere, like this place that you're kind of describing sounds like.
Yeah. It's one of those roads, no lights. And again, this was a house that was like, I don't know, probably like an eighth of a mile off the road, like just in between some trees that you just never really saw anytime that I had ever driven down that road. And then, so I'll give you the last thing that happened there. At the end of Annie's Road, there was a hotel, a Holiday Inn. And under this Holiday Inn, there was like a parking garage, and there was a hearse parked in this Holiday Inn. And we're like, why the fuck is there a hearse parked at this Holiday Inn? We just noticed it one day when we were driving by, and we get out and we walk up, and the hearse is covered in dust. There's like oil spots on the floor, flat tire. Like, you could tell this thing hasn't moved probably in years. So every single time we'd go down Annie's Road, and again, like, you know, usually we'd, you know, bring some friends, bring some chicks, try and scare somebody. Hey, check out the hearse, you know, whatever, blah, 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 parked under this creepy Holiday Inn. They'd go, they'd check it out. We go there one day, and the hearse isn't nowhere to be found. We're like, oh, they finally cleared out the fucking hearse out of the Holiday Inn. You know, it's probably best, because I know if I stayed at this Holiday Inn and, you know, there's a creepy hearse parked underneath, I'd be questioning the shit. Hearse is gone. We came back like a month later. The hearse is there again. Flat tire, covered in dust, looked like it had never fucking moved.
Huh.
Yeah, dude.
That's like, oh man, that's real one
fucking
that
creepy.
I mean, like, is there anywhere that they could have just like moved it off for like something at the time? Like, that's what I don't know the area, so I'm just trying to like envision this a little bit.
Yes, but like, it was nowhere in the parking lot. So if they moved it moved somewhere. But again, it was covered in dust.
I think that's
It had flat tires. Like, it was one of those things where, like, what, why would they move it and then bring it back and park it in, like, exactly the same spot? You know what I mean?
I mean, that's one of those things you wonder, is that a glitch in the simulation kind of thing?
If there's a simulation, yeah, it might have been a glitch.
I don't know if it's I mean, sometimes I wonder, especially like with, you posted about this earlier this week, so I suppose it's the best segue. But, like between like a lot of this really weird stuff, sometimes you got to wonder, is the simulation winking at me? Especially when you see like real life Wojak characters walk into the real world. Like, oh, you there? Richie, you there?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything looks good to me.
Okay, we can hear you.
Got me?
I think I can
All
hear
right.
you. Cool.
All right. So, yeah, dude, there's shit like that happens, and then, like you said, fucking, these soy jack looking motherfuckers, like,
the images like like that shit, like, dude,
bro,
it is
motherfuckers
routinely. I will send images like that to women to see if they find that attractive, and it never fails to be a hilarious answer.
Bro, these motherfuckers are like legit memes, and like you said, like, if there is a simulation, I can't think of it being anything other than like, oh, we're just gonna toy with these motherfuckers. Like, there's so many stupid motherfuckers out there. We're just gonna toy with them, and let's give them real life memes. Let's give them people that are real life memes. Let's see how they react to. Let's see if they even notice.
I mean, I started noticing this sometime around Trigglypuff. You remember that girl?
Oh yeah.
Like, sometime around then, I was like, my God, this human being looks like she just wandered out of a political cartoon. And it's astounding. It really is. What's even more amazing is a lot of these people aren't even aware of it.
No, it's
well, that's where I wonder with some of this too. Is like, you'll bring up certain things to these people, and it doesn't really faze them in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, part of me wonders, like, if it's a simulation, is it like an MMO? Is it an RPG? Like, you know what those both are with video game in regards to video games, right?
I know RPG. What was the other one? MMO.
MMO. An RPG. A big world. You can all explore it. You are the main character, and the whole world is basically a bunch of NPCs.
Yeah.
And an MMO, on the other hand, is where a bunch of people are in one world who are all connected from all over the world.
Okay.
Doing all sorts of things. And there might be a few NPCs in there too, depending on the type of game. But, like, my thing I've always wondered is if it is a simulation, is it an MMO or an RPG?
I mean, if it is a simulation, I would assume it's an MMO. I'd like to think that you're real and that I'm real, and that
I mean, that's what I'm saying here. Is like, I'd like to think at least if this is an MMO and there are NPCs, at least a good number of us are plugged into the Matrix and some of us are real. Like,
right? Yeah. If it's some sort of simulation, it's got to be some sort of Matrix shit where, you've got some real people, you've got some fake people, you've got some computer programs, and that's what you're interacting with on a daily basis. I mean, I feel like I've seen enough weird shit that, like, I can't discount that. Yeah. If Morpheus knocked on my door and said, "You're plugged into the Matrix," red pill, blue pill, and I woke up in a little fucking pod plugged into a machine, again, I'd be like, fuck, like, well, this isn't the craziest thing I've ever seen. Makes sense. Just chalk it up as makes sense.
Yeah. That's like, there's this one comic out there that floating around the internet. Those silicon packs that come in like a lot of things that say, "Do not eat this."
Yeah.
Like, there's some comic of a guy. It's like, screw this big silicon. They can't stop me. He eats it, and then you see he wakes up from the simulation. Like, congratulations, you've escaped the simulation. Like, It's just
If only it was that easy.
if only. If only. No, I'm expecting. I'm pretty sure Morpheus is either Michael Malice or Alex Jones. Probably Alex Jones.
That would make too much sense.
It really would. It really would. But
Yeah, dude, okay, Joe Biden. You know, what I forgot what fucking press conference that he was in the fucking cornholio pose, and he had that bizarre look on his fucking face. What the fuck was that all about? Like, that's not just somebody with dementia. You know,
there's
that's
a lot
not
of weird things with him. Just like
dude.
mannerism wise.
There's just way too much weird shit. There's just way too much weird shit that like is I don't know. You can't just explain it away. I mean, there's I don't know if you've seen the one fuck, who was it that was saying it? They were talking about Joe Biden having like a stand-in body double or something like that, and because there's pictures of Joe Biden that you see like side by side photos, and like on one of them, like his jawline's completely different, his nose is completely different, and like I know your nose and your ears will continue to quote unquote grow for like your entire lifetime or something like that. So as an old man, your ears might or your nose might be bigger than they are as a young man, noticeably so. But like we're talking about like completely different jawline, completely different nose. And so somebody was talking about that the other day. Fuck, who was it? I so my brother, shout out to Eddie. He's on the chat, and we were talking about it also. Aaron from Timeline Earth, I think it was, who said something along the lines of I miss the old Joe Biden or something like that with the square jawed Joe Biden. Where'd that guy go? Something along those lines. I miss the body double with the strong jaw and blue eyes. That's what Aaron from Timeline Earth posted.
I mean, the funny thing with that, though, too, is like it wouldn't be out of the ordinary because we're constantly hearing things about Kim Jong-un possibly having body doubles.
Yeah. And here's the thing, you know, you tell me Fidel Castro had some body doubles. I can see it. There were numerous attempts on Fidel Castro's life, you know, while he was in power. From the time he took power to the time he died. You know, that guy probably had a fucking attempt on his life once every decade. You know, if I was Fidel Castro, I'd probably have somebody that looked like me who would stand in every so often when it was like, I don't know, this place is kind of sketchy. There's a lot more, you know, opposition in this particular, you know, territory. I don't know if I want to go there and give a speech. You know, you body double, you're up.
So on that topic, that leads to another weird conspiracy because, like, we're going into all the crazy ones here tonight.
Yeah.
Do you think Hitler made it to Argentina?
I think
I toyed around with that one. I wonder.
I think it's definitely possible. I mean, he was the most powerful man in Germany. We know for sure a lot of them made it to Argentina. So, you know, Argentina was welcoming enough that they took in, you know, a bunch of people from Germany right after World War II. It would not have been that hard for Hitler to say, hey, you know, give me a nose job, give me some different cheekbones. I'm going to shave off my stupid little mustache. And I'm going to fly to Argentina as, you know, Hugo von Wiener Schnitzel or some shit.
Well, I mean, there's a number. You know,
here's my new identification.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is, well, there's like a number of weird stories that if you look into things in regards to Argentina, probably the weirdest one I heard about supposedly being Hitler was a girl who was a maid for a German family. Mm-hmm. And she claimed that Hitler would call the house regularly. The family, I guess, were Nazi sympathizers who fled to Germany and everything. And these people, I guess, from what she thought, were basically giving money to Hitler to let him live there. Because I guess these people still had money from the old country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she never confirmed it, but she would like give the, you know, like pick up the phone. Oh, is so-and-so there? Oh, yeah, let me give it a, oh, mein Führer! Like she'd hear the woman down the hall say that, like shit. like, hey, it's you, like, yeah, like I remember
time.
that was like the weirdest one that because I was hearing that one and I was just like, that one seems like pretty, like I could believe that being true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not far fetched to believe at all.
Yeah, and plus, like, there's one guy I know. I forget what country he's from, and it's not Argentina, but it was like one of the other countries that because eventually Argentina wasn't very friendly, and Nazis had to go elsewhere in South America as
Yeah,
well.
Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay.
Yeah, this was one of those other countries. I can't remember which one, and he's gonna kick my ass if he watches this. But basically, he lived down there, and all growing up, there was this friendly German man down the road. Nice guy, just cool guy, friend of the family. Would show up to like family gatherings and all that. Just sweet old German man. One day he died, and his family went to his funeral. SS uniform in the coffin. So it's like I hear stories like that, and I'm just like, yeah, it makes sense to me. Like,
yeah, it's again, it's 100% believable. Like to me, to me there's no you can't write it off. Did you see that video that came out and it was Tom Cruise doing magic? Did you hear about this?
no, but is he claiming that Scientology is giving him magical powers? Because I've heard rumors I've heard stories of
No,
him supposedly
so
saying
it's
things like that.
dude, it was completely computer edited. It was I don't know how they did it, but a guy made a video of Tom Cruise doing magic and he made it on his computer, and they could not disprove that this video never happened were it not for the fact that Tom Cruise was like, no, that's not me. I've never done this. I never shot this video. He's doing stupid, sleight of hand tricks, card tricks or some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Pull a rabbit out of a hat. I forgot what the fuck it was, but he's doing magic like on a YouTube video or something along those lines, like some sort of platform like that. And it's a full-on video of him doing magic. That video never actually happened. I mean, if we're at the point where technology can do that, to think that Hitler could have gotten a fake ID and flown to Argentina, like that's absolutely believable.
I mean, in the chaos of the end of the war, like a lot of people don't really realize just how chaotic, the Russians taking Berlin and the final push of the Brits and the Americans and everyone else on the other front. Like there was a lot of chaos that happened in that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't think the average person nowadays can truly fathom what a war like World War II would have actually been like. Even people that have been in combat. I mean, combat's changed tremendously since then.
Oh yeah. Part of me though wonders just what kind of technology was lost in those ending days, because we know for a fact that Nazi scientists had bunkers where they were doing all these crazy experiments.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of these bunkers they exploded, so you can't get through, and if you try to open it up, it's just going to collapse. Like, what is beyond those walls? What is buried under that rubble?
Well, I'm sure we salvaged some of it. I mean,
some of the scientists.
Maybe this is another segue, but maybe we salvaged some of it in Operation Paperclip, and your MK Ultra, and the testing that they did on people with acid and mushrooms and psychedelics and stuff. That's all stuff that, and we know that the German scientists were working on.
Yeah.
And then shortly after World War II, suddenly the CIA is working on. That's not a coincidence, if you ask me.
No. We got all those guys, as the joke goes, walk into the NASA offices and throw up a sick Heil and watch what happens. But yeah, no, there's a lot of crazy things. Like one that I never hear anyone talk about, but was one of the crazy Nazi experiments that actually did. They tried to conquer gravity. They tried to create anti-gravity devices that worked here on Earth.
I never heard about that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was one of the scientists that got captured. I can't remember if it was by the British or the U.S., but they interrogated him. This was before, like, I'm sure we eventually got him to work for us, but this was during the ending days when people were fleeing. Mm-hmm. This guy was basically trying to escape, and he got caught.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of weird shit. Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with Foo Fighters.
Yeah, the band.
No, but actually, where the name comes from of the band.
Oh shit, no, I didn't know that there was a backstory to the band.
Yeah, which big Foo Fighters fan. I just want to say I don't understand why Dave Grohl doesn't love this name, because when I tell you what this name is, you're gonna think, God damn, that's a badass rock and roll band name. But basically, Foo Fighters were UFOs that American and British pilots saw during World War II.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, yeah, they referred to them as Foo Fighters.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I find it really crazy that you hear a lot of these stories of like Foo Fighters over Germany and whatnot, and then like after World War II, a lot of that technology we knew that they were kind of experimenting with it, like Area 51 and some of these other places.
Right.
Like there
I
was
think
even
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. There was I think it was World War II, or shortly after. There was a guy that like was chasing down a UFO somewhere, and they have like the recordings of this guy, basically saying like, "Oh, it's doing this, it's doing that, it just did, X, Y, and Z," and it's like maneuvers that like were not possible with the technology that they had at the time. That whatever aircraft it was that this guy was chasing, as he's speaking to ground control or whoever. He's talking about all these maneuvers that this aircraft is doing that just weren't possible by our technology's standards at the time. So yeah, UFOs is definitely one that it's hard to. Again, you'd be hard pressed to convince me that it's absolutely bullshit and does not exist. I think that's totally possible. There's a lot of evidence to the contrary.
I mean, there's definitely a lot to it's a matter of what,
Right.
Some years ago, Project Aurora, I can't remember what this plane is called now, because I think it's actually out there in commission, but it was this, you can find images, at least back in the day. I remember when this first broke, you could find images of like the residue left behind the smoke trail, but you couldn't actually find an image of the plane, or at least back then. I think for some reason it's out there now. But like this thing was like super fast and like basically different than any other sort of plane. And there were actually reports of UFOs coming in, but in actuality, it was the U.S. government just blowing our tax dollars to make some really fast plane. So like it as much as I would love to be fantastical with some of it, I wonder if kind of some of this UFO stuff is just technology that we just don't want the public to be aware of. I wonder what
I think there's a certain amount of. I think there's definitely something to that. But I also think that there's something to the opposite of that. Basically, I think there's definitely something to the fact of there being something that they're just not even gonna acknowledge for the simple fact that they don't want us to know about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is just me playing devil's advocate and all that too, and I'm sure they don't really want other factions, other countries to know about that sort of stuff either.
Right, absolutely.
Unless they really want them to know.
Right.
But it's a crazy thing. But like, what do you think of that whole going back to our Morpheus, Alex Jones? What do you think of the whole? They're not from outer space. They're interdimensional beings.
Well, I've never done DMT, so if I ever meet Joe Rogan and Alex Jones one day, maybe I'll tell you about that. But
I mean, screw it. Go find some DMT and ask the interdimensional beings if that's what the case is.
That one's pretty bugged out. I was listening to a Joe Rogan episode, and I'm trying to remember who the fuck it was with, but he was talking about taking DMT and interdimensional beings and whatnot. And yeah, that shit sounded pretty fucking trippy. That one was very interesting, and I never really looked more into it. So that's definitely something I'm gonna have to look more into. I mean, interdimensional versus being from another planet. I mean, I think they're both just as fantastical, They're both just as possible. They're both just as impossible. You know what I mean?
I am more. I'd lean more towards space. Like if I want to be rational, I'd lean towards space because that's objectively out there. Like the other dimension is something that exists within theory, as far as we know.
That's true. Yeah. I just feel like, you know, the next closest star, if I remember, you know, 8th grade science class correctly, the next closest star is like 40 light years away or some shit like that. So 40 light years away is the next closest star, and we're in a relatively small galaxy. To think that, you know, the next closest inhabitable planet, God only knows where it is. I mean, these people have, you know, supposedly NASA has found planets that are, you know, hundreds of however many thousands of light years away, you know, and that's, you know, probably inhabitable, maybe possibly inhabitable. To think that somebody made it from all the way over there, I think it's just as possible as there being another dimension, another, you know, multiverse or whatever you want to call it, where, you know, whatever beings can travel between that dimension and this dimension. Who knows? It's interesting to think about, and I like to be open-minded and, you know, hear shit out when I hear shit like that. I like to hear more about it.
Yeah, you kind of got to entertain it just because it's so wild. It's like, okay, I want to hear
Right.
everything you have to sell.
Right, exactly.
Oh man. But yeah, no.
Funny enough, the one that you know, the one I would just refuse to believe is fucking flat Earth.
Flat Earth. What about Hollow Earth? Hollow Earth is, right? Lobster in the chat, I'm sure, knows what the Hollow Earth is.
Yeah. Oh shit! What up, Top Lobster?
Hitler believed in the Hollow Earth.
Again, you know, maybe possible. I don't know for sure. I think the hollow moon thing is possible. I've heard of that one.
What one's that? The moon's an egg or something?
No. The moon is hollow. Same thing, kind of like Hollow Earth, except they said the moon was hollow. I forgot, they landed something on it, and like it kind of like the vibrations, the way it rang was like kind of like a bell, like it sounded like a bell getting hit versus something solid getting hit.
Huh.
I don't remember that one, you know, that vividly, but I've heard that one, and you know, I'm open to hearing more about that if anybody wants to talk about that. Like I said, I'm open-minded.
I really want to find someone who could tell us about that then, because I that's one goal of mine here, is to talk to as many people with interesting perspectives on things as possible, culturally speaking.
Well, shit, man. Next episode, or you know, in the future, we'll have to find somebody to talk more about Hollow Earth and Hollow Moon and what they think about it.
That's the problem. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things, you know, us being members of the Florida Libertarian Party, one of the things that I always kicked myself for was a few conventions ago, before you and some of these, you know, before we all started the Mises Caucus and got that all off the ground.
Yeah,
there was actually a flat earther who showed up to one of the conventions.
Oh yeah.
But he left before lunch. I think he was just there to check out all the tables and everything. And it was just like, I was disappointed because, like, fuck, I want to pick things. He likes his woman like he loves his earth.
Yeah.
Flat as hell. What, flat women need love too? Just saying.
Yeah, just not for me.
Me neither, my good friend. Oh man, but yeah, no, flat Earth is one of those crazy things, because I don't know how it popped up in the way it did in this age. Like B.O.B. became a fucking flat earther.
Who?
You know the rapper B.O.B.?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a flat earther. He's a flat earther and a Holocaust denial guy. But yeah, like that those are. I'll tell you, that's the fact that it has reached that level, though. Like that's what I just find entertaining about the whole thing. But at the same time, it's just like,
yeah, there's
if you people only took one red pill and not the whole bottle.
Yeah. There's some people that I know that are like legitimately smart. Like they're not they're not fucking retarded by any sense of the imagination. They're legit intelligent people. And, they were like, dude, because this video, it's not falling behind the horizon. It's the sun's going so far away that you can't see it anymore. It's not actually going behind the horizon. And I'm like, motherfucker, what? I watched it go behind the horizon. It changed shape like it's a ball. And okay, now it's half of a ball. Now it's a quarter of a ball. Now it's just the top of the ball. Like, you watch this happen every single day. Like, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about?
Don't believe me? Go out to the beach.
That's not how this works.
Don't believe me? Go out to the beach on some sort of West Coast beach of some sort, or where you can watch it sunset, and you will literally watch it go beyond the horizon.
Exactly. Or watch the fucking sunrise, dude. It comes out of the horizon, goes up above your fucking head, and it goes down on the other side of the horizon. Like, that's not it just moving away from you. It's not it being big and then getting small, but staying in the same spot. That's not how this works, dude. It's fucking physics. Oh no, it's because the atmosphere. Their explanations were just way too incredible. And you're like, dude, you're normally smart. When did you become so fucking retarded?
It's things like that, though, that I hear. It's like, is this just a distraction to keep people not looking at the man behind the curtain?
Dude, circle back to the beginning. We're coming up on an hour.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to the beginning. I don't know. Maybe it's controlled opposition. Maybe those are the NPCs, and maybe this is an MMO. And
MMOs can have NPCs too. It doesn't necessarily has to be that. So that's what I'm saying.
Exactly, that's what I'm getting at. Maybe some of the people that we know are NPCs. Maybe this isn't just everybody that isn't just people plugged into the Matrix.
Alex Jones, please show up with those reflective glasses and a leather trench coat with a red pill and a blue pill already.
If Michael Malice showed up with a red pill and a blue pill, I think I'd trust him to be Morpheus and give me the red pill. If Alex Jones showed up, I'm not so sure.
If either of them,
I'd have to think about it a little bit. I'd be like, do I want to get red pilled by Alex Jones right now?
I suppose that leads to another question. Then it's like, who would you be the most surprised to learn is Morpheus? like they show up at your doorstep, like, really, it's you? Oh, come, really? Oh, god damn it!
Who would I? I guess really the question is who would I be the most disappointed to find out is Morpheus?
Yeah. I guess that's whatever. Who would be most disappointed in Morpheus?
Let me think. I don't know. Joe Biden and Nick Sarwark are the first two that came to mind.
Yeah, for me it was Nick. Nick was the first one I thought of, just because I'm like, yeah, if that happened, I would just be like, oh, come on, really? Oh,
really, you're Morpheus? Nah, fuck, man. Give me the blue pill until the next Morpheus shows up. Put me back to sleep.
Yeah. I know the consequences. Put me in the damn Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet machine.
So you're saying I'm in an egg and I'll wake up, but then you're the leader? No. Give me the blue pill.
Oh my god. Yeah, no. The whole red pill blue pill thing, though, it's really one of the most. It's as I was talking about last show. I've noticed that it's something that it seems to be catching on with a lot of different communities, even beyond our own.
Yeah, because it's so fitting.
Yeah,
it really is. And you know what I've found, especially after Trump, there's a lot of what was his name in the first one? Cypher. There's a lot of motherfuckers that are Cypher. The guy that wanted to, he was striking a deal with the machines, and he was like, "You're gonna plug me back into the Matrix, and I'm gonna be wealthy." And blah blah. And he was sitting there eating a steak with the agents, and he's like,
yeah.
I know this steak isn't real. I know, it's a program that's telling me what this steak tastes like, and maybe that's why everything tastes like chicken or whatever, blah blah blah. But I'm enjoying this, so plug me back into the machine. He gave them all up. He said, plug me back into the machine. Essentially, re-blue pill him. The problem is in real life, if you get red pilled enough, there's no going back into the Matrix, dude. Like,
I mean,
once you
that's
see certain things, once you realize that the government is not trying to help us, once you realize that, you know, that the massive swamp that is Washington, D.C., I don't think you can unsee it as much as you want to be blue-pilled again. You know, I feel like after Trump, there's a lot of people that want to be blue-pilled again. They just want to be like, fuck, Trump pulled back the curtain, and, you know, I want to close Pandora's box now, but you can't. You know what I mean?
And you know, it's funny you say that because there's people in my own life who I can think of that exact example with, where it's like not even just Trump, but like in regards to the person I'm thinking of, Tim Pool has definitely enlightened this person a lot. But at the same time, they just can't give up the Good Morning America, all that crap, you know, like that sort of yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who are like, holy shit, you know, all this shit is going on. You know, there's Washington is completely corrupt. You know, they believe in the fucking, you know, all the pedophilia. The curtain got pulled back on that. The curtain got pulled back on the media, and the curtain got pulled back on so many things. I feel like they took too many red pills at once. And, you know, Pandora's box got way too opened up for them. And they were like, holy shit, let me close it and put it back together again. You know, and let me sit here in the corner. You know, if I pretend that this shit doesn't exist, you know, it can't get me. And I feel like there's a lot of people that, you know, Trump literally broke their brain on both sides. Because we all know of, you know, the soy jacks and the fucking all the people that are literal memes today because of their actions to Trump. But on the flip side, I feel like there's a lot of people on the right also who just, you know, their brain was broken by Trump. They don't want the, you know, they saw too much all at once. I've always been skeptical of the government. I've never trusted the government. So, you know, maybe Trump pulling the curtain back was just confirmation for what I already knew. For a lot of what I already knew. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are just like, holy shit, you know, they trusted the government one day and the next they were like, completely, you know, untrusting of the government, and they just took that swing way too fast. And yeah, they're never going to be the same.
Yeah. Say what you will about Trump, he fucking broke the Matrix. He really did. Like there's no other way to put it. Like I wish I could say I like him more. Unfortunately, I don't.
Right.
I gave him every opportunity to prove me wrong, but he never could.
I wish he was the guy that they claimed him to be, playing fucking 4D chess and doing this and hiding out in a fucking bunker somewhere. I wish he was that fucking based. Bro, hiding out in a bunker somewhere with all the generals ready to take back over the fucking government on March, whatever the fuck it was, which was the original founding of the country and all this other bullshit. And it was like, really, man, you believe that? Like, yo, he's already shown his colors way too many times, guys. Stop.
He showed his colors on not pardoning Assange, Snowden, or Ross Ulbricht, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
That was his moment. His moment to prove to me that he was legit. That's all he had to do. One of them, not even all three. He could have just pardoned Ross, and I would have been fine with it because, you know what, fuck it. If you're playing chess, I can understand how Assange and Snowden are pieces on the chessboard. Ross Ulbricht is not a chess piece that has any strategic value that I can think of.
Right.
Anyway,
I feel like he should have come out day one fucking swinging and said, hey, all these three guys, innocent. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. I really wish that would have happened. That would have been, imagine that timeline. But anyway, we're kind of going over the hour here, so I figure we should probably start wrapping it up.
Yeah, for sure, man. Just one last thing. Instead, we got fucking Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, so.
What a timeline. That's the type of shit that makes you, going back to the simulation, makes you wonder.
I was about to say, dude, we gotta be in a fucking simulation.
like at what point do we just like, goddamn.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you plug, make any plugs you want to make, brother?
Hey, if Top Lobster's still listening, man, shout out to him because I still have my Twitter account at maybe Richie Roma. He told me how to keep myself from getting banned, and his suggestion worked. And I haven't gotten banned yet, so follow me at maybe Richie Roma.
Shit, you know, that actually occurred to me when I tagged you in the post for this episode on Twitter. I was like, Actually, I think this is the account that's lasted the longest so far.
It definitely is. It definitely is, bro. I went through my first two way too fast. Those lasted like a month and a half each.
Fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, check me out on Twitter at Mitch Connor JLo. Also, check out our new Facebook page with Culture and Decay. Pretty much just converted the old Cypherpunk Scribes page over, so all the old content, all the crazy documents, all the documents that I found and compiled on there, they're all still there. All the crazy shit. If you're into any of the weird things going down the rabbit hole, because I went down quite a few. So yeah, just go check that out. Check out the Libertarian Frontier store on TeePublic. Also check out our stuff, some of the other designs that I couldn't list on TeePublic over on the Proud Libertarian, because TeePublic is limiting, and Proud Libertarian gave me a platform. So go show them some love. And also, just a word from our sponsor. Go check out Drip Delta 8. Go to Drip Cannabinoids and use code word Mitch MITCH at checkout. Get 10% off. Help me, help this business, help everyone out, and go have a little bit of fun with Delta 8. If you're not familiar, it's a part of marijuana that does get you a little bit lifted. So have fun.
Dude, that shit's awesome. I like it.
Oh, dude, it's phenomenal. Like it is night and day. Like the freaking gummies here that I'm about to take here in like a minute once we get off. They're definitely just have helped me out tremendously with sleep at night.
Yeah, dude, I got some of their stuff over at CannaFest. I'm about to go take some right now because I got some back pains
Nice.
that have been keeping me up at night. So yeah, I'm about to go take some right now. So
oh yeah,
sure,
brother. And you know, when you run out too, feel free to order from the website. That 10% off, that can be used every time.
Yeah, for sure. I'll hit you up.
Hell yeah, brother. Anyway, everyone, thanks for tuning in. You'll see us next week. Next week, my guest, I've decided to basically put him through the Robbie the Fire Bernstein challenge. It's my buddy Tyler who wants to get into podcasting. So we're going to give him a 1-episode contract to see if he can work as my co-host. And depending on the end of the episode, we'll see if we will renew said contract. Anyways.
All right, bro. It's been real.
It's been real, buddy. Let's sign out here.
Peace.
Good night, everybody.